Texans. All right, very interesting team. In my opinion, well, okay, so last year, this team had very huge splits as far as their strengths and weaknesses, right? And they were almost like obvious. There was two huge strengths, two huge weaknesses, the four main elements of football. Strengths, passing offense. I mean, probably the best passing attack in football against zone coverage when C.J. Stroud was in. As far as passing offense goes, about a top 3 in the NFL last year when Stroud was healthy. It's only going to get better now that they add Stefon Diggs and now that Tank Dell is healthy. I mean, it's only going to get better, the passing offense. So no criticism at all towards the Houston Texans offense. I mean, there's not much evidence to indicate there's going to be any negative regression there. But sticking on the offensive side, you know what? Actually, I kind of have some positive things. Before I get into it, Modi, what are your thoughts on Joe Mixon? Do you think does that move the needle for you?
No, I mean, it doesn't move the needle at all. He's just a guy. He's reliable. He's good in pass protection. He's good in at the goal line if they decide to run it. Dameon Pierce seems like has just fallen out of favor. I actually thought he had some juice 2 years ago when which was his rookie year. But no, I mean, Joe Mixon doesn't inspire any movement, positive or negative.
Now, something that Prop Ever pointed out, this is interesting, and granted, he said it like this is kind of a thin way. Like he admitted that this isn't like a end all be all stat, but apparently Joe Mixon had really nice numbers when the quarterback lines up, when he gets a handoff, when the quarterback lines up under center, which apparently the Texans did a lot more of than Cincinnati. So theoretically, he should fit better into Houston. Now, again, that's like razor thin, and we're just throwing stuff out there. But that is something that theoretically Mixon should be a solid fit, whether or not you think Joe Mixon is even any good. So there's something. But sticking on the offense, and look, they didn't make any upgrades to their offensive line, but did they even need to? I mean, the whole offensive line was hurt. It wasn't that their offensive line was bad. I mean, they were bad, but they weren't out there. They were hurt. The average offensive lineman in the NFL, like if you start all 17 games, you're going to play about 1,000 snaps, give or take, in between 950 and 1,100 snaps. So if you're an offensive lineman in the NFL, a starter, and you play the whole season, you're going to play about 1,000 snaps. The Texans only had one offensive lineman, the right guard Shaq Mason, that played 1,100 snaps. So they have one lineman that hit that. Other than that, they had Tunsil, who played like 800-something snaps. Their next highest was Fant, who's not even a starter. He played like 800 snaps. Their guys, I mean, their Juice Scruggs only played 400 snaps and change. Titus Howard, right, only played 400 snaps and change. So the Texans offensive line, yeah, the run blocking numbers look pretty terrible. But keep in mind, we don't even know what this offensive line looks like because we barely saw it. It was so hurt. So the fact that they didn't upgrade the offensive line, I don't really care because we don't even know how good that offensive line or how good or bad that offensive line is. So they're coming into this year healthy. So
yeah, just to further prove your point about the offensive line, I forget the exact stat because Warren Sharp tweeted it out, but like they set a record for most games lost, like adjusted games lost by their offensive line. Like it was like the most games lost from their offensive line in like 5 years. It wasn't just injuries. It was the most injuries that a team has suffered on the offensive line again. And like, I forget the exact stat. I should have looked it up.
Prop Ever just read that off. Since 2001, Prop Ever. Yeah.
Jesus, not even 5 years. Jesus, 25 years.
23 years. So that's the most games lost via the offensive line, via injuries to the offensive line in 23 years of NFL football.
And their offense was still awesome. They had the 14th, according to DVOA, the 14th best offense. They had the 10th best passing offense specifically. And last year, PFF had C.J. Stroud as the 13th best quarterback in the NFL, and they project him to be top 10 this year. So yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if we're giving official predictions, if I could just go there, but like, they're my favorite Super Bowl bet to make, the Texans.
Okay,
because you can get a really good price.
Before that, okay, so I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here. And by no means does this mean like I'm not big on the Texans or anything, but I feel in order to accurately and objectively see something, you need to try to look through it through the other lens, right? You need to try to look at it through the other lens. Offensively, Can you go to CJ Stroud's passing versus man in zone, please?
So and also he lit up bad defenses and he was really bad against good defenses. So that is definitely something to consider.
Right. So we'll start with the man in zone, and I want to show the pressure too. So the roadmap to slowing down CJ Stroud started to become clearer as the season went on. You can't sit in zone coverage against this kid. He is maybe the best quarterback in the NFL when you sit in, well, probably Mahomes. Mahomes kills zone coverage. It's kind of similar numbers to Mahomes, actually, because Mahomes was struggling against man last year. But this kid, you can't sit in zone coverage against this kid. Very clear. Now go to the pressured and kept clean. It should be right in there somewhere. It's CJ Stroud pressured and kept clean. And then again, you cannot sit back in zone coverage. Look what happens when you don't get crushed. You cannot sit back in zone coverage and let this kid get a clean pocket. He will destroy you. He's best in the NFL at it. But when you put pressure on him, he goes from one of the best quarterbacks in the league to an average quarterback. So I think the fact that, and again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, the fact that these DCs across the NFL have a little bit of a roadmap of how to give this kid problems, put pressure in his face and make him make decisions against man coverage. But I mean, even trying to play devil's advocate, who's got 4 D-backs that can cover Diggs, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, and even Dalton Schultz? Like, who's got the defensive roster to make those 4 covers if you're going to go that route? No, I can't see the Texans offense being slowed down, even though I do think there are some smart defensive coordinators out there that will have a game plan to make it interesting. I'll say that.
Yeah. For me, it's like you could just bet the Chiefs again because they have Patrick Mahomes. Like if you look at the history of the NFL, like teams that win the Super Bowl fit in like 3 categories. It's like you have the GOAT. You either have Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes. You have a young quarterback on a rookie deal making the leap in his second year starting. Like the Eagles did that in 2017. The Eagles did that in 2022 with Jalen Hurts. The Seahawks did that with Russell Wilson his second year. The Steelers back with Big Ben. Like there's a ton of Aaron Rodgers. There's a ton of history. The Bengals with Joe Burrow. Yeah. There's a ton of history of young quarterbacks taking the leap. And like
before they get paid,
because then you can pay Stefon Diggs. You can pay Danielle Hunter on the defensive line. You can make upgrades elsewhere before the quarterback gets his deal. It's like a tale as old as time with the new CBA. And that is it CBA with the NFL, or am I just stealing an NBA word? But whatever. Either way,
I think it's still CBA.
Yeah, it's like the rookie salary cap scale is what I'm talking about. And like there's a couple of things that I like. They kept their offensive coordinator, which is massive. We see a lot like teams not be like a defensive minded head coach. Dan Quinn loses their offensive mastermind and they aren't able to replicate that level of success. They kept him. That's really important. Their defense is not going to be the best in the NFL, but like they took a huge step last year. They were the 4th worst defense in 2022. They were completely average in 2023 last year. And like DeMeco Ryans, granted he had a ton of talent, had elite defenses every year in San Francisco. You figure he'll be able to coach up that unit, which like another year for Stingley. Again, they added another defensive line and Will Anderson, rookie of the year. Like you expect him to make a step forward. They just like fit a ton of different things.
I have pushback on that.
Yeah,
if we're switching over to the defense. Okay. If we're switching over to the defense. So on the offense, I tried to play devil's advocate and throw some negativity out there. I don't even believe my own words. I think the offense is going to be good. Like, I don't even believe my own words. That being said, I think I could poke holes in this defense, and I think my points would be valid, honestly. Okay. So remember I did the strengths of the offense. They passed the shit out of the ball, couldn't really run it. Both should be improved, the passing and the rushing attack. On defense, it was also very one-sided. They had one of the best run defenses in the NFL. Really struggled against the pass. I think you can make an argument that maybe both of these units are in jeopardy. I think the run defense is definitely going to take a step backwards. And I don't think people realize how important the Houston Texans run defense was last year. Now, the run stoppers in the NFL don't get the same kind of press that the pass defenders do. Like, people love corners, right? Lockdown corners. People love pass rushers. They love sacks. Like that's what gets the headlines. That's like a Daniel Hunter. That lights up the headlines. But the Texans took some losses of people that were pretty key in stopping the run. Blake Cashman, Adrian Amos at safety. In fact, on PFF, Pro Football Focus, now again, if you're familiar with PFF, you know that you can't take those ratings as gospel. They're more as just a guideline. But 4 of the Texans' top 5 run stoppers on PFF are gone. And this was a defense that literally, the backbone of this defense was stopping the run. So I expect this run defense to go from top 3 to a step backwards for sure. And as far as the pass defense, yes, you add Danielle Hunter, who's the man, right? One of the best pass rushers in football. Certainly huge upgrade. Look at that secondary. The safeties aren't bad, but those corners, if Stingley is unable to stay healthy, you're going to have a team that's really thin at cornerback. You're going to have a guy like Jeff Okudah that needs to play a serious role on the, and then Jeff Okudah was awesome at Ohio State, but in the NFL, he hasn't really panned out. And if Stingley is unable to stay on the field, and by the way, this isn't a huge if. This is his third season in the NFL. He's already missed 12 games. He missed, I think, he missed like 8 games and 4 games of the 2 seasons. Like, he has not been able to stay healthy for a full season. So if Stingley is unable to stay healthy, and even with Stingley, the Texans are really thin at corner. So pass defense was a problem last year. I don't think adding Danielle Hunter all of a sudden fixes that. I mean, I'm sure it's an upgrade, but I think that it's valid that you can poke holes in the Texans defense. That's all I'm saying. And again, 100%. I'm just trying to be like devil's advocate is all.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, my argument isn't that the Texans are going to have a top 5 defense. It's that they were completely average last year. Great, like, yeah, they had dramatic splits between run defense and pass defense. They were, like I said, they're 16th in DVOA. They could be 16th again, and they can win the Super Bowl. Like, yeah, there's plenty of teams that can win the Super Bowl with an average defense if their offense is as good as we think the Texans' offense is going to be. And like, I get, like, people are going to be down on Diggs. They're going to get Diggs on his best behavior. He's on a 1-year deal. Like, he's not going to cause trouble on a 1-year deal. He's not going to be like he was at the end of Buffalo, like at the end of Minnesota, where he wears out his welcome. He's going to be, like I said. You think I'm wrong about that?
No. I was actually agreeing with you in a sense that here's the thing with NFL media, they know what gets clicks, and Devo wide receiver causing problems gets clicks. So even if Stefon Diggs just like looks over weird, that shit's gonna get shared on Twitter a million times, even if it was nothing. So what I'm saying is that kind of thing usually gets exaggerated. Like I'm sure Stefon Diggs isn't a complete piece of shit. The social media just makes him look like that because it gets clicks. So I'm sure whatever that situation was exaggerated. That's the point I was making. I agree.
No, I agree 100%. And fun fact: Stefon Diggs went to my high school. He was 2 years younger than me. Went to high school. Stefon Diggs. He's a good kid. Like, he's a knucklehead. He's cocky. He knows how talented he is. He's not going to actually cause trouble. He's not going to pull a Jimmy Butler in Minnesota. He's not going to completely tear apart the locker room. So I'm not really worried about that. And even if he was, he's going to, like I said, he's going to be on his best behavior because he wants to get another deal. As he's 30 years old now, so he's like, this is his last chance he has.
Yeah, and not to mention, like, you could really make a strong argument that he's wide receiver 3. I know that's crazy to say, but Nico Collins and Tank Dell were on such a mission that, like, it's not like he knows the Texans don't necessarily need him, you know? Like if he starts causing problems, they can just be like, all right, sweet. Like, you know, like, we're cool.
Yeah. And like, they're all like, Nico Collins and Tank Dell are awesome. Stefon Diggs can be completely washed and they'd still have like a really good top 2 wide receivers. And Noah Brown's like a totally fine third receiver. Like, he stepped up when Tank Dell was hurt last year. Yeah. I mean, I'm
not a Noah Brown guy. He used to be a Cowboy.
Well, no, I'm not saying that he's good, but like, if he's your third receiver and he can even be in, like, Dalton Schultz, like another Cowboy, but like, they're totally fine in their roles. Yeah. I mean, as you can tell, I love the Texans this year. They're like fit. Like I said, every like a lot of things, they check the box for a Super Bowl contender, unless you're just like, but Mahomes. And there's really no argument to but Mahomes.
But Mahomes and the officials. Joking. Don't want to start that in the comments. Just making a joke. All right.
It's not funny,
but now we go to the Texans' biggest obstacle, the schedule. Yeah. This team could honestly, realistically, be 10-0. Well, maybe let's say 9-1. This team could. I mean, there's. I'm not saying every single game is a win, but they start off with such cake, right? The Texans are probably going to be 9-1, or at least like 8-2. I'd say 8-2 is a real. But if you look at the schedule, the first half of the schedule, they could realistically be 10-0. But then look at the latter part of this schedule. They go through a gauntlet in the last 6-7 games, which is not. Obviously, football's big on momentum, right? You don't want to go into the playoffs not playing your best football. And I honestly could see like the Texans being like, I just could see us sitting. Proppy was getting the schedule on the screen now, and I could see us, and I'll show you exactly what point on the schedule I'm talking about here. So tell me this doesn't make exact sense, right? The Texans, we can go through it. Colts is a win. Home against the Bears should be a win. At Minnesota, win. Home against Jacksonville, probably a win. Home against Buffalo, Diggs will probably rip his old team up. At New England, win. At Green Bay could be a loss, but they get that one in October before it's cold. I could see them winning that game, honestly. Home against Indianapolis, win. At Jets Thursday night, that's going to be a tough one on a short week against that defense. So at Jets is probably a toss-up. They could lose that game. Home against Detroit is another toss-up. But now we're getting into the other parts of the schedule. So let's say entering that Jets game, they could be 8-0. That's not crazy to say. 7-1 if you want to take the Green Bay game away from them. But then you go at New York on a short week. The Lions, who should be good as hell. At Dallas on Monday Night Football, that's going to be a problem. I mean, I think the Texans probably be better than the Cowboys, but at Dallas on Monday Night Football, Dak's going to throw some touchdowns. Then you got home Tennessee. Then you got at Jacksonville, Miami, at Kansas City, Baltimore. So can't you just see like an 8-0 Texan team actually somehow finishing in like the 3 seed? I could just see it playing out like that. Really.
Well, what you just told me was that you can make a bet last remaining undefeated team, Texans at plus 1,500.
Yo, what book's that on?
That's on FanDuel. I mean that the first thing I thought of was last undefeated team, Texans. I mean, their first 4 games. I can't see it.
So their first 4 games is Colts, Bears, Vikings, Jags, and Jags at home.
So like last year, the Eagles were the last undefeated team, and they were 5-0. They were the last undefeated team at 5-0. So like you need to win your first 4, 5, 6. I mean, I don't know. Like I guess we should probably compare that to the other schedules.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was just thinking, and that's the downside of doing it this way. Where I'm having this problem in college football as well. Like we're doing the American Conference today, and we're like going through the schedule, and it's like, well, shit, I haven't even looked at Tulsa yet. So like I don't know if this is a win. I haven't gotten there. So I'm definitely writing this down though.
I bet there's websites you can look at like the easiest first 8 games of a schedule or something.
Yeah,
because like, I mean, like the Green Bay is going to be tough, but that's week. That's their 7th game.
Yeah, we're talking about 6-0 at that point if they are undefeated. I think home against Jacksonville and home against Buffalo are very winnable. I especially like the idea of Diggs against his old team in Houston. And then
this is. And I don't know if you've done the Bills yet, but like everything is screaming towards this being a rebuilding year for the Bills. They have no receivers. Their defense has lost some guys, and they're older. I love Josh Allen; he's the man. But like, who's he throwing to? Khalil Shakir and Chris Samuel.
Yeah. Someone's saying no way they beat Buffalo. I mean, you do agree that they'll probably be favored in that game, though, right?
No way. I think people think the Bills are. This year's Bills team is not the same.
I'm not big on the Bills. Yeah, I'm not big on the Bills this year.
Yeah, me neither.
All right, so it's an over for me as far as win total.
100%.
Yeah, so it's at 9.5, heavily juiced, but 9.5.
Like I said, they're my Super Bowl pick. Like them, I think.
Dude,
a lot of it's based on the value. Like they're plus, I think 1,800 to win the Super Bowl.
You know who I like a lot this year? I just hate their schedule. If the Dolphins had this schedule, I would like them more. The Dolphins, I think, got better and are going to be a problem. Their schedule is fucked up, dude. Like the Dolphins' schedule, like they should riot.
I'm just not a Tua guy, to be honest. Like he can put up stats and they can put up 1 million points on all the bad defenses, but I don't necessarily trust them against a good defense.
Yeah. All right. How about some college football? Let's get Andrew on the screen. Modi, thanks for joining, man. Make sure you guys show Matt some support. He's tagged in the tweet. It's Jedi Modi right there. That's his Twitter. That's also the name of his channel. He does the Dong Report. He's been killing it. Doing those stupid ass home run props that I like to make fun of, but he keeps hitting them. So
if you found me compelling, that's where you can find me.
Yeah, that's where you can find him if you found him compelling.
All right, see you, fellas.
Talk to you later, man. All right, Andrew. Hey, appreciate the kind words, guys.